All right, welcome back to Five Star Wrestling Reviews, past and present. This is our second episode. You may have noticed that we have not done episodes the last 2 weeks. Sometimes life gets a little busy, and there was a lot of wrestling that happened over the last 2 weeks. So we are going to hit the high points on the television over the last 2 weeks, and then
the best
obviously
that we can.
Do what?
The best that we can.
Oh, right. Yeah. I mean, some of it I don't remember super well from 2 weeks ago. But then, Forbidden Door was just a couple of nights ago. So that's definitely pretty fresh in my mind. But obviously,
the good news is that, the last couple of weeks, it's all been building to the pay-per-view. So it's like it all encompasses together.
Yeah. I think of the build to Forbidden Door last year, if you remember, a bunch of people got hurt. There's nothing you can do about that. But the build was just, it was almost impossible to do, and it wasn't really that good. And I think a lot of people forget about that because the show was incredible. But the build, and I don't think it's anybody's fault because a lot of the main people got hurt, and they did as good as they could. But
what was like a highly anticipated first ever, then it was like, what else could go wrong?
Pretty much. That's why over the last 2 weeks of TV, I was watching when the main people involved in the big 2 matches at Forbidden Door were out there, which was very rare. And obviously they weren't working matches or anything, but I figured they might as well have had them out there in bubble wrap just to make sure that they stayed good. Because last year it was anything bad that could possibly happen did, but instead, we got 2 really good weeks of TV, I thought, where, 2 weeks of 2 shows each week, if you don't include Rampage, and no injuries as far as I know, at least not until Forbidden Door actually happened. So they got everybody in the ring. But the build, I think it goes without saying that it was 10 times better than it was last year. Again, because you can't blame for injuries.
Yeah, it's not like they purposely did it bad last year. They made chicken salad out of chicken shit.
Oh, right. Yeah. In the end, it turned out great because that show is very fondly remembered because it was amazing.
And that show, knowing how good it still was with all the injuries, sold 14,000 tickets without a match being announced.
Yeah.
And so clearly people had anticipation regardless of what happened last year, which you would have thought maybe there's a hindrance they had to start announcing. It didn't matter. People were, those fans in Canada were just, we want to see this.
Plus, there hasn't been but 2 AEW shows in Canada so far, and now they're getting this almost a tour with some massive shows, which, Toronto, they totally should have gone. I thought they should have gone there a while ago, but glad that they're hitting them up with some big shows, and I'm not surprised how much. I think they said that Forbidden Door did 1.2 million gate or something like that.
The third largest in Canadian history, only behind WrestleMania 6 and 18.
Yeah, and it was.
And those 2, you had Hogan versus Warrior, and then you had Hogan versus Rock. So 2 main key marquee matches. So it would be understandable why. Okay, you're not gonna be number 1 because you don't have a Hogan Rock, Hogan Warrior type of match.
The one thing I wonder, I would have loved if they had actually tried to do the Sky Dome, and I don't know how. Obviously, they weren't going to fill it up, but I don't know exactly how many people that holds. I know at WrestleMania 6 and 18, they say there's 62,000 people there or something.
But wouldn't that take away from the allure of All In, how they're advertising the first stadium?
That was what I was going to say was the problem. Under other circumstances, I would have thought that would have been a cool idea. Under these, no. But, I bet for the first big AEW show in Toronto where it's that, it's the Forbidden Door concept, I bet they could have done at least 40,000 tickets. And, you can make that look pretty full in the Sky Dome. or whatever it's called now.
I could see the yes and no, and the only reason I say no is because people know they have this Canadian loop behind it. So why come from all over when they're going to come to you?
Fair point.
Wembley, they're there for All In, then they come back to the States. So you have to go to All In if you want to see it. They're not doing a big European loop.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, speaking of, obviously, as much as we're going to talk about Forbidden Door, All In is what everything is truly building to. I mean, overall, I'm kind of guessing at this point from the television over the last couple of weeks after their 30-minute draw and then, their angle continuing with this blind draw tag tournament thing, which I'm not sold on yet. But I think the AEW world title match for that is going to be Cole and MJF. At least that's what I believe at this point.
What else could it be?
I mean, it could be MJF and Punk, but I think...
Where's the story?
MJF and Punk is probably going to be the next week in Chicago.
Especially with what's happened at Collision.
Right. So that leads us into, we've had 2 episodes of Collision now. The first one was obviously based completely around CM Punk. I mean, they would have been stupid to promote it as anything else. And it's in Chicago.
And I thought it was incredibly smart. He had to open the show because if they didn't open with him, them fans would hijack all night. Let's be real.
Nothing would have worked. It wouldn't have mattered if they had the best match ever. Yeah, people wanted to hear Punk talk first at the very least. And
what did you think about, like, just to kind of hit some points of it? What did you think about the bag, the world title in the bag?
I think I like the idea of him claiming that he is still champion because he's right. He didn't lose. I mean, obviously he got injured, but I think the fact that it was in a bag and he didn't actually show it, that means there's going to be some kind of a twist to it and he's not just carrying around a replica of the belt.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure what it's going to be, but has he actually brought that out with him again since that first time?
No. Because my first thought was, like you were talking about, like they did, he'd never, lost it. Well, when the Elite got stripped of the titles, they didn't lose it. Punk had to vacate. So to me, it's like, where's the consistency?
Yeah.
Because it happened on the same announcement that the trios and the world title were vacant.
Yeah.
Yes, the Elite got their match, their series, and all that, but they didn't carry around. They didn't reference. We never lost. It was just, hey, we're going back for our gold.
Well, true, but I mean, referencing, carrying around the belt, claiming to be the true champion. I mean, that's a heel thing, obviously. Which I know we had said.
He was in full heel.
Oh yeah, totally. That's what I think in our first episode we were speculating. Is Punk gonna do like a Bret Hart deal where he's the biggest babyface ever in Chicago, but he's a huge heel everywhere else? And that totally seems to be where they're going. But on the first night, he was like a preacher or like a cult leader. Like people would have done anything that he asked. He could do no wrong. And I did like his "Tell Me When I'm Lying" that he kept going back to because.
Well, he did a previous promo like that too.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he'd heard some stuff
on
like
AEW.
That. So was this before or after the Hangman stuff? I don't remember specifically.
I don't remember the specifics, but I remember stop me when I'm lying. I don't know if it was MJF.
Okay, I've definitely heard him say that before. That's true.
Maybe it was MJF. I forget which one, but stop me when I'm lying.
Yeah. I think that sounds like something you would have said to MJF.
Because that's what I kept harping back to. But for me, I liked it because it's like it gave an illusion of I'm picking up where I left off. This whole deal. He name dropped the head honcho of the network. And I'll be honest, when he said the name, I had no idea who the guy was. I had to Google it. It's like, oh crap, he actually said the head guy's name.
I thought that was his name, but I had to Google it to verify. But I'm pretty sure So apparently that is in reference to some elusive $1 billion deal that they are supposedly working on, that the caveat is Punk has to be involved or this is most likely not going to happen. At least that's what it sounds like. Obviously,
I did like
there's been no confirmation of any of that.
I did like the fake Bucks line.
Oh, no, yeah. And to me, that was the giveaway that they've gotten together and they've decided that they're going to be smart and they're going to make money, because I don't think if there was still legal crap involved or anything like that, I don't think that would have been said. And then the Bucks especially wouldn't have then put it up on their Twitter.
Instantly.
Yeah. I mean, so it's just little
But
Easter
here's the
eggs.
other thing. I know we're kind of like, we're talking about collision, but the referencing what you just said, Punk and all of the elite were in the same arena for Forbidden Door. If there was that big of issues, being on opposite ends of the building wouldn't have stopped anything.
No, of course not.
So that they can be in the same building. So to me, baby steps. I'm in the same building. I'm in this. So it lets it start going, you know. I'm just going to go ahead and say I'm going to be highly disappointed if it never happens.
Yeah.
We talked about there's been worse real life happen amongst wrestlers, and they worked. Kurt and Jeff, Lita, Edge, and Matt, Sullivan and Benoit. I mean, those are
many more that are much worse. So, yeah, if that's why, I mean, since we did our last episode, Punk did the ESPN article, right? And I know, to me, that was online, where he was basically apologizing for shitting on AEW, which I know was the part that bothered me the most with everything that happened last year. And he clearly made an apology for that. And then I wasn't expecting him to come out to the ring and apologize again or anything like that. But
no, that was kind of like, that was his one apology. Okay, I've referenced it. I've mentioned it. I've apologized.
And then he apologized to Tony.
Yep, which, I mean, I know fans can claim you owe me an apology. And Punk said before, they don't owe us shit. Like, we pay our money to watch them. Like, we willingly do it. If you don't like it, turn it off. So, there you go.
Exactly.
But apologizing to Tony, I think was a must.
Oh, yeah.
It's, at least, it was, Tony didn't say, hey, I apologize. Like, Punk was the one to bring it up because he'd have been called out for sure at the next press conference if he had.
But I doubt he'll be doing anytime soon, but still.
So yeah, Punk on the debut was great. Then in the match, like I enjoyed getting to go ahead and see him wrestle first night. I mean, it's
well, and I just loved that when him and Joe got in the ring together. It was 19 years ago when they had all of their stuff. So there were probably a huge number of fans that were in the building at Collision that weren't even alive when that happened. And everybody knew that it was a big deal. I mean, yeah.
Did you notice when it happened, FTR and Bullet Club stepped down off the ring apron to let the moment where it was just them in the ring?
I did not notice that, but that's a good catch. That's cool because
they understand the gravity of it, because then you start hearing the fans. It's like they took themselves out of the moment. It's like they were selfless enough to know this is bigger than me right now. So let me step down, let them have it, because they didn't touch. It's just when they both got in the ring, it's like everybody's like, oh shit. And I love seeing it. It's I love to see more of it.
I think we are.
I think the fan response states that fans want to see it, but also at the same time, if you're going to have that first meeting in 19 years or whatever between those two, Chicago is a town to do it. Chicago is a good wrestling city. It's not like it was like the Dynamite we talked about where the crowd was silent. Like if they would have gotten in the ring and it wouldn't have been a reaction, it would have been a letdown. So picking the city to do that and it being Chicago, incredibly smart because those fans remember.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show that the AEW fan base, the average AEW fan is
a wrestling fan.
Completely different than your average WWE fan. And that's not to disparage your average WWE fan, but I mean, they're
wrestling fans.
They're wrestling fans.
They're not company fans.
Casual wrestling fans necessarily.
Oh, I said they're not a company fan. They're a wrestling fan.
Right. That's a very good way to put it. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
Because like we've talked about, like, yeah, we prefer AEW, but I think we would be stupid to deny WWE Bloodline story. It's been
awesome.
It's one of the best, I would say, the best things they've ever done. And one, to me, at this point, now they have new wrinkles. It's got the length to be one of the greatest wrestling stories ever.
Yeah, no, I think it's, especially over the last 6 months, but no, that's been incredible. I don't watch WWE regularly, but I keep up with that storyline. I guarantee you that. And I watch the segments after the fact so that I can know what happened, especially because everybody in it is so perfect in their role. But
and so that just brings up just the point of, like, all the time, we prefer this company, but we still know what's going on and not afraid to admit, hey, that storyline to me is better than any story AEW's told, because that is a generational story being told from the other company.
And AEW has had a handful of incredible storylines, so that is going.
But never one that made me like Roman Reigns.
True, but
something on that level. Like, they haven't made me like MJF, like, as a babyface. Like, they've Roman a heel. I love the work. Like, it's awesome. So
yeah.
But anyway, move on from that. Just bring that just to say, like, obviously we talk about this company. It's not all about. We'll still acknowledge other. But yeah, that moment, fantastic. You obviously knew Punk was gonna get the pin. I mean, let's be real. How could he not?
He had to. It's just a matter of who he was gonna pin.
Mm-hmm.
And you knew it wasn't gonna be Joe or Jay White.
It's because didn't Bullet Club or didn't Ass Boys interfere? Or was that the second?
I think that was last week when it was the Hardy Boys.
That's right.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. That was Hardy Boys and the Ass Boys and Juice interfered so that the Gun Club would win. It was the match where Jay White was against Ricky Starks in that main event 3 weeks ago, I believe, that the Gun Club first came out and interfered on Jay's behalf, but then they made it out like it was random.
And then to bring this up into this build of Forbidden Door, I've loved this Gun Club build to joining Bullet Club. I think that's a great fit. I mean, the name goes perfect.
I mean, it's kind of logical, yeah.
The entrance with the Gun Club now, where they're shooting.
I do like that entrance,
but and it goes perfectly with Bullet Club. Like, they can still have their own music per se and have the bang bang. It fits perfect. It's too good, and I think it's gonna be great for them because it'll help them get away from. If they can separate from the storyline with the Acclaimed and their dad, it's gonna help them stand alone and build their name, not feed off Dad's name.
Yeah, I mean, it's still shocking how few matches that they've actually had, and they're actually pretty good already. So.
Mm-hmm. So I've enjoyed that build to the Forbidden Door as well, like watching them, which never thought I'd say.
I would say, I mean, that's a lower level storyline, but it's being done very well. So I've heard other people say that basically stuff with Bullet Club Gold is catching on, and you're not the only one who seems to be enjoying it. I mean.
And kind of like I told you on the first episode, like the Jay White thing, it's been a build, because if he would have gave us everything up front, then where does Jay go? Now we have depth. He can have depth. He's going to keep that persona he had in Japan, the leader that wins by whatever cost. Who cares if it's cheating? He's a heel. He's cheating. He's supposed to do that. Yeah. So it's helping keep true to that, which is a comfortable role for him, obviously. So you're going to get your best Jay White.
And he's probably going to have a singles match, a big TV singles match with Punk sometime over the next month, because, he's clearly the leader of that group, and that's kind of what Punk is entrenched in at the moment.
So I've enjoyed that as well. Jungle Boy, and I'm just kind of, I guess, bouncing the highlights of the 2 weeks to Forbidden Door.
Yeah.
Jungle Boy. I've enjoyed the build where you could see the turn happening.
I mean, I totally predicted that last week. Maybe it wasn't. It was kind of obvious, maybe, but
the fact that it took like where like you could see the thought, like you could see this, you could see like in title match after title match and lose.
I would say it's been building for like 3 years, so.
And then Luchasaurus winning the TNT title. In retrospect and hindsight, I think that was to be like, wow, I really haven't done something by myself, and he already did on his first shot like that. So that Luchasaurus win fed the Jungle Boy story.
That didn't even occur to me, but that's a very good observation. So I imagine that was probably not a coincidence.
Because after Luchasaurus won, Jungle Boy had a tweet out about something of like someone else did it before me, or I forget exactly what it said, but so that's what makes me think it was the big picture was using Luchasaurus winning that to further enhance the Jungle Boy turn.
Yeah, no, that's extremely logical. That's probably exactly what they did, and I did not think about that at all. And I hadn't heard anybody else say that either, so.
Hey, this is why we don't talk about it until we talk on here.
Oh, no, that's good because, yeah, you definitely would have mentioned that to me before, and I would have been like, oh, that's a good idea, but not live on camera.
So I've enjoyed that aspect. Can't believe, it's not that I can't believe I'm going to say this, it's just, we talked about like, I have nothing against women's wrestling. At times it's hard for me to watch. Sky Blue has been great in the ring.
They took her from being like at the bottom of the card to being like one of the top women in the whole company over what, like a 2 or 3 match span where, yeah, she just looked like $1 million. They killed it with her. Totally. Agreed on that. Wait 1 second. You're breaking up. Your audio is breaking up.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
I was saying, like, we're talking about like 2 or 3 televised matches, but she was doing Dark, she was doing Elevation, she was doing Ring of Honor. So she's pretty much what those shows are there for, to get people maybe who aren't on TV, let them get reps. It's in front of an audience, not just in a warehouse, but in an audience. So, and it's paid dividends for her. She's a prime example.
No, and she's, in just the few months that or I'm not even sure how long she's been around in the company. Not long. She's super young. She's made major improvements during that period. And obviously it helps that she's from Chicago, and Chicago fans clearly get behind their hometown wrestlers. But
still, like, I've done, her ring work is greatly improved. So, and then one thing during this build, I know they had the Punk FTR teaming together. Since FTR won the belts, because that was the hottest tag division for a long time.
Yeah.
We haven't had any tag title stuff, really.
Yeah, when was the last time they made a defense of the belts? Wait, say it again. You broke up for just a moment.
It's because they won it back from the Gun Club. And since then, I can't tell you when.
Yeah, that's weird. I wonder if it makes me wonder if one of them is like hurt and.
But they're doing 3-mans.
I know they're doing 3-mans, but you can hide one of them better in a 3-man than a tag, especially if they're doing a tag title match. It's probably going to be a long, pretty physical match. So I don't know. I hadn't thought about that, but you're right. I can't remember the last time they had a tag title match, but I mean, AEW has like the greatest tag division ever. So I know they've got a lot of other stuff going on right now, but
they're not utilizing it right now though.
No, right now they're not at all. I mean, other than this. So I'm assuming this blind draw tag team tournament thing is basically like the Lethal Lottery that WCW did back in 1991, where random teams were drawn, they were paired together, and then in that case, at least, it was the winning tag teams went on to a battle royal at the end of the night. This is probably going to be spread out over weeks.
Yep, and lead to a title shot.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that because those are usually not that great. The ones that WCW has done, and I'm not saying it can't be done, but it has a bad track record. But
I'll say at the same time,
in my opinion,
a lot of battle royals had a bad track record, but Tony's proven he can book great battle royals, so I'm willing to give it a shot.
I'll certainly give it a shot. My first thought is negative on it, but I will go into it with an open mind and give it a shot for sure. Because I assume it's going to take up a lot of TV over the next few weeks.
It's going to have to. Andrade.
Dude, he's like basically the second biggest draw on Collision. Like his matches, it seems like they're doing one each week. And I mean,
with a different member of House of Black,
which I assume is leading to the ultimate one with Malachi.
Yep.
Sooner than later.
I think at some point Andrade is going to have backups, and you're going to have.
Bless you.
Yep. He'll have backups. You're going to have a 6-man at some point.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't remember how the storyline went, and maybe it's because it wasn't a good storyline. But did Andrade? Did he just disappear from the whatever Rush's stable is called?
They haven't referenced it since he came back.
Okay, so I guess that'll have to play out in some way. I think Rush is taking time off because I think he just had a daughter like a week ago, so he might be gone for a while before they do that. But Rush was a heel. Andrade is clearly working as a babyface, so they'd have to work change some things around for that to work anyway. But no, I'm very glad to see Andrade back. I forgot how much I loved him.
Yep, he looks great to me.
Oh yeah.
Miro, same thing. Miro looked great.
Same thing. I mean, Collision is basically they brought back everybody who had problems with Tony and disappeared at some point, and I think it's great.
So, and then during this span, what did you think about the Mark Briscoe, Jeff Jarrett concession stand brawl?
I mean, it was supposed to be like the anniversary of the old the Tupelo concession stand brawl from Memphis Wrestling back like 45 years ago.
Yep.
I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't expect it to be a 5-star classic of a match, but I thought it was funny, and Mark Briscoe is perfect as the babyface in those, and Jeff Jarrett's pretty perfect as the heel. So, I mean.
And I think right now, and I had this thought watching, like, it looks like Mark's having fun. And at the end of the day, after everything that's happened, he's finally on national TV.
Yeah, he's making money.
Who gives a shit if we think it's a great storyline? But he's been through. If he's just having fun with wrestling, that's what matters. I mean,
yeah, and that to me that makes it a great storyline, regardless of whether or not it's creatively fulfilling or not. So I totally agree with you on that.
Like a first big angle like this, he's got his dad with him.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and anytime Papa Briscoe's on TV, it's good. So.
To me, those were the biggest highlights leading to Forbidden Door. Just all of that. Tried to make that 2 weeks as concise as possible. I know there's things omitted like the Elite vignettes and the Elite not being in Chicago that first night because, well, who could blame them? But supposed to be babyface. But all that leading to the other thing I'll point out about Collision before we go, because Punk wrestled the night before Forbidden Door. That Canadian crowd reaction to Punk. Holy shit. I mean, it really drove in the fact Superface in Chicago hated everyone. And you knew Canada would be bad. Kenny being from Canada. You knew that's always going to go sour. I just did not expect that degree. It reminded me John Cena ECW, one night stand.
That's a pretty good comparison. I definitely expected him to be booed, but yeah, not to that degree. But it looked like he was having the time of his life. Like,
it was like it looked like he fully expected it.
Oh no, definitely. And I think he's always been way better as a heel, and I think he's more comfortable as a heel anyway. But yeah, I mean, he played into it perfectly, and I liked it because that itself was setting the stage for the whole week of matches in Chicago in Toronto that would lead up to Forbidden Door. So it was like, okay, you're going to get roughly the same reaction on pay-per-view when Punk comes out.
Mm-hmm. So that's a quick 2-week highlight. Very quick. But Forbidden Door is going to take time. We can try to be concise on it. It's going to take time. Let's be real.
Let's get into it. I mean, it was...
And we started with MJF Tanahashi.
MJF Tanahashi.
I've got my thoughts. What are yours?
I thought that Tanahashi looked like he looked better than the night before against Swerve, but he was not getting around, and he basically can't run anymore because of his knees. I thought that under the circumstances, they turned it into a pretty good match, and MJF looked great.
Yep.
And more or less carried Tanahashi, Tanahashi's about to do the G1 too. Like, I fear for that man. He needs to take the year off after that.
Tanahashi's a legend. Not to discredit. Like, I mean, he's a legend. He's went through it. His body shows what's happened. But the night before against Swerve, I was like, man, this is like a shell. Go against MJF. To me, this showed just how good MJF is, because the night before you saw a completely different type of match from Tanahashi.
And to be fair, Swerve looked great in that match too, because when Tanahashi slipped, Swerve immediately improvised, went to the corner, got Tanahashi to hit him and make it look like, he went back down, and then they did it. I mean, that's a hugely veteran move. But yeah, MJF just had a good match with him. I mean...
And I love that. I love
Tanahashi can do no wrong in the ring with the fans anyway. But
I love the fact that as much as MJF just berates New Japan, like part of his deal, during the match with the ref back turn, Tanahashi had MJF rolled up what would have been a 3 count. So that way it doesn't completely discredit Tanahashi in the Japanese fans' eyes or anyone else. It shows like he could have won, but MJF did something shady to distract. So it showed like, hey, this man did have the capability of beating MJF. So it made it look like a worthy, just in the eyes of watching a match,
Right.
So to me, that was a nod of respect. MJF to say, I will hold my shoulders on the ground for longer than 3 for you.
That's a good point. I mean, I thought he definitely made Tanahashi look good. And I mean, Tanahashi did the same, but no, that match I was a little worried for that match after the Swerve match. And I was glad it was just the opener. It wasn't like it was going to be the main event anyway, but it exceeded my expectations.
100%.
And just continues to show how incredible MJF is at basically everything.
So we have that match, which we both said exceeded our expectations. I was thrilled with it, like with going from what I expected to what I got. Then we go to Punk, and that place was loud.
I enjoyed that match as much or more than the Tanahashi MJF match, and I found it very interesting that Punk and MJF were basically both in the same position. They had a hugely charismatic, popular, older New Japan wrestler to work with, and they did a lot of character work because it wasn't like they were going to be doing like 450 splashes or anything like that. And I thought they both did an incredible job, but it was 2 different enough matches that they could have been very, very similar, and they were clearly not. And I mean,
the Punk,
a good heel there. I mean,
well, in that match, like just going back to references of days before, doing all the different attacks, like all the mimicking other wrestlers, like the big boot and leg drop.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I mean, yeah, that was just all this, and it again, I didn't know what I was going to get. I was happy with what I got because that was Punk's first singles match since he came back. So they even brought it up on the announce team. They first singles match. What about his cardio? His cardio looks good. Great announcing right there, in my opinion. Bringing up we haven't seen him have to go this long in 10 months.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think any combination of Excalibur, Taz, and Kevin Kelly is always going to be awesome anyway, but the commentary was definitely good. But I wasn't exactly sure what to expect out of that match. I know Kojima's 52 years old, but he can still get around. He can get around better than Tanahashi, to be totally honest.
I was about to say that. He gets around better than Matt Hardy.
Oh, well, he definitely gets around better than Matt Hardy. But, yeah, that's a different situation. But, no, I mean, Punk doing the Mongolian chops. And I thought the perfect finishing touch was he made him tap out to the Anaconda Vice, right? Or, no, I'm sorry. He got him in it towards the end, and Kojima got out. And that's a move that Punk has done for a long time. But that's a move that was originally created by Kojima's tag team partner, Tenzan, who is all but retired now. But just a little Easter egg that I figured someone like Punk was totally throwing in there on purpose. It wasn't like that was random. Still there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can. You broke up for a second.
I was saying the only thing that caught me by surprise was when the match was over, pulling Kojima up, shaking his hand, doing the respect thing after he was playing the heel.
Yeah, but I was okay with it because Punk was playing the heel more towards the fans, but he had made it clear that he was a huge Kojima fan and that it wasn't like he was out there in a blood feud to hurt him. He just wanted to win to show that he was better and could advance in the tournament, but could show some respect at the same time. He didn't have to be a dick, which is the difference between Punk being a heel and MJF being a heel, for instance. MJF would have never done that, obviously. I mean, It would have completely killed.
Because he had a timed up tweet 7 minutes in the match that I'm probably already done.
That was great. Perfect.
And I love that. Yeah. I love the announcers brought it up because otherwise I never would have known.
Oh, yeah, I would have had no clue. But clearly he clued in the announcers beforehand so that they could mention that.
Which is a hilarious thing to me. So, yeah, the first two matches, to me, over-delivered based on what my expectations going in were.
Definitely.
At that point, I felt like tonight is going to be special.
And so then after, and the last part in that match, you noticed when Kojima did his flying elbow, he did it right into Punk's ball sack.
Yep.
And Kojima tweeted afterwards in English, he said, I should have pulled it up, but he basically said, yes, I elbowed him in the cock. Sorry. And that was it.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one, too.
Accidents happen.
I saw that one, too.
And then a picture of a piece of bread. I love Kojima. But no, so those two matches over-delivered. That sets the stage pretty good.
Yep.
What was right after that? Let's see. I got it right here. I should remember. But then we had the four-way international title.
The fact that every time I see Shibata on TV, I treat it as a gift. I mean, it's special, the fact that he's bumping, the fact that it's not just a almost comedy style, protect me type of deal. It's going out. I look at this as a modern day miracle. Orange Cassidy, I love him. We've talked about him before.
He just keeps getting better.
Zack Sabre, it's hard to have a bad match with Zack in there.
Oh, it's impossible.
I thought Daniel Garcia actually played his role great, where you have these three legitimate wrestlers
Which he is too, but he was also kind of the butt of the joke as the heel.
But him sticking in the sports entertainment deal with the Danielson, like showing his thing, like I actually thought that was a great touch. It's a good 4-way. I love the ending. After the match, Garcia out of the ring, the 3 champs all are in there together.
Yeah, I would assume that they'll probably at Death Before Dishonor do Shibata and Daniel Garcia for the pure title. That's my guess, at least. I feel like Daniel Garcia has kind of taken a back seat in the AEW picture in general. I don't know, was he hurt or because like he was?
I think what happened was because him and Wheeler were kind of heating up at the same time, and then the BCC just took off and left everything else in the dust. And so you had to. Garcia still gets his TV time, but hey, you're not the focus right now. Yuta and the BCC, this is the focus.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's probably.
But they're keeping him on TV, keeping him in these matches. So, hey.
Oh, right. I didn't mean like they were burying him or anything like that. Yeah. It just seemed like he went from being very prominent to just being a mostly regular character. But I mean, I think he's still so good that they could heat him up at any time and do a much larger storyline, which I'm sure he will.
At the end of the day, you can always go back to I beat Bryan Danielson, I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he's going to have plenty more big wins like that, but obviously that's one that he can hang his hat on for a while.
Yeah, good match. I mean, it's after the first 2, it gets hard to follow from where I was at because of feeling like, man, I'm getting over-delivered. So then we have this. Thought another good match.
I thought it was very good, and it was completely different than the 2 matches before it. I mean, it sets up a whole bunch of more important singles matches after and had a good match. If you can do all of that at once, I'd say that's always a...
Oh, think about this. It also opens the door for Zack Sabre at All In.
Which I assume there's no way Tony isn't going to at least want him on that show. You know, Will Ospreay as well.
They
don't work
sense.
For him.
It makes sense now though because they tied that in, so it's not just a random.
It's not just showing up randomly as a countryman. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a cheap pop. It's like, hey, we're going to build a story.
No, I agree, and yeah, I mean, Orange just keeps winning. I hope he has that belt forever and he defends it every single week, and he's like a mummy covered in tape.
I hope when he loses, somebody just absolutely destroys him. I don't want it to be like a competitive deal. At this point, I want it to be a massacre
because like a mercy killing.
Because he is so beat up that he physically just cannot do it. Like tell that story of the workhorse who gets worn down like that.
I'm all for it. I mean that's pretty much what they're headed towards anyway.
And you know who would be great to do that? Roosh. Because think about
he is good at murdering people.
So that 100% fits in.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be him coming back in a few months after, his paternity leave or whatever they technically call it. So I'd be all for that idea because that would also give Cassidy a little more time with the belt before he had to drop it.
But yeah, it plays into where it's not somebody doing some kind of character work that's new or you haven't seen that side. No, that's just freaking Roosh.
Right. No, I agree. I mean, I love Roosh. So if he came back and just murdered Orange Cassidy and took that belt in a few months, I'd be down with that for sure. Especially if Cassidy, he's going to continue to get more beat up and wear more tape and
tell the story
by and stuff like that. It's a great story.
Tell the story to work on. And he's going to he can't keep doing it. At some point, he's going to break down and just physically can't.
Yep.
I want to see him lose it in the manner of Brock and Cena.
That's literally what I was just thinking about when you were saying truly get just annihilated.
That's the style I'm talking about. Because to me, it makes somebody look strong, but it tells the Orange Cassidy story.
Yeah. The other option there would be Miro.
Miro could be that guy. And
that would probably be sooner, but
it's believable too.
Yes, it's very. But I hope for all of Miro's matches over the next couple of weeks or months, it's just a lot of squashes before he does something of major substance.
So we definitely have a lot. That's one match where we have stuff coming later from it, because a lot of these matches were story start, story end. This is an exception.
The next match is, I think, a story, at least as far as the two people in the match goes, that's started up and it's done. And so what did you think about the Sanada Jack Perry match?
Can't believe I'm saying this, but during the match, I was like, whatever about. I mean, not that it was.
It wasn't good.
It was just, the bigger story was the aftermath, 100%.
It almost looked like Sanada wasn't even, and I don't know, part of this maybe is his character, but he didn't seem very interested in being there. And they just seemed like they just went through the motions and then got the match done. And then the important stuff happened.
I love that when Jungle Boy did his turn, it was not in the ring. It was on the ramp where it was more impactful. So that way, because, okay, a clothesline to hook in the ring, we've seen him in matches. Not going to keep him down. Clothesline where potentially your head hits that hard ramp, more believable why you're going to stay on the ground.
Also, it was further away from Taz.
The biggest thing you bring up Taz's reaction on commentary.
I mean, Taz is incredible when he gets to do stuff like that.
And because where he's trying to stay professional, trying to and I immediately saw a tweet from Bully Ray, and I was thinking it, but he tweeted it. Taz's work, the staying professional, but the taking the glasses off. That told a story all in itself. I thought the heel turn in that story, that part of the match, the aftermath of the match, was better than the freaking match.
I thought it was way better than the match because I was quite disappointed by the match, in all honesty.
But again, like Taz getting involved, like I say involved, just that little bit, the fact that he didn't go overboard as the dad and all this, like hey, my son can handle himself, but I'm pissed off.
What do you say? He's a grown-ass man. Like,
but I'm
basically saying Jack Perry's going to get fucked up, and it's not going to be by him.
And because the fans were chanting, "You fucked up," and then Taz goes, "Yes, you did."
I know, that was my favorite part. Yeah. Yes, you did.
All right, so we'll get back on it. Talking like Taz's reaction made that closing segment
and
of
the
that
fact
match.
That he was gone after that.
I loved it. And I think without Taz, it's not as impactful. Yes, people wanted to see Jungle Boy turn, but Taz on commentary made it seem like a bigger, oh shit, what did you just do?
Yeah, and it was almost like it, to me, put Hook over so strong. And I know it was his dad saying this, so he's biased. But as much as he was like pissed off that Jungle Boy had turned on his son, he almost had a hint of like, I feel sorry for you because my son's gonna fuck you up so bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like that. Like,
Taz even said,
in watching this happen.
Taz even said, Jack, you're a dead man.
Oh, well, okay. There you go.
And that one line is keeping, no swearing, no nothing, no raising the voice, just, Jack took his glasses, you're a dead man.
Yeah.
The amount of story he told in such few words. Taz is highly underrated in his verbal storytelling, in my opinion.
Oh, I think he's incredible. I mean, do you think he's underrated? You don't think he gets the credit he deserves?
I do not, because
I love him. I mean, I've loved
him as an
announcer for a long time.
Because people forget about, he did SmackDown. He was great on TNA as a mouthpiece. But a lot of people didn't see him in TNA.
SmackDown.
Yeah, he was great. But a lot of people then didn't really see much of him until now because they didn't see his TNA period, and it's forgotten about. He was great there as an announcer and a mouthpiece, and then Aces and Eights being their mouthpiece, being the heel broadcaster, telling that story like Bischoff with NWO. I mean, I don't think he gets the credit for his announcing and, in this instance, telling a story without being involved and without saying hardly anything.
No, he completely sold it. I mean, you're right. It would have had nowhere near the same amount of impact if somebody else had been doing commentary.
Impact after TNA.
Say what?
Said you saying impact after the TNA reference.
Oh, I totally did that subliminal. I didn't do that on purpose. That was a subliminal screw up.
All right, but then so we got through that, which is long overdue for Jungle Boy. He needs to change. The Pillars thing exposed him to me how weak he was compared. I think this is going to be good. He needs the character development. First thing they need to do, get rid of the song. You cannot have a heel with a sing-along. Jericho wants his money. That's different. But
Jericho's in a kind of a whole different situation in a lot of regards. So
he's a legend, so whatever.
Yeah.
But they need to get rid of the music. You cannot have sing-along with a heel.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, he hasn't come out since then. So I wonder.
He's coming out tonight on Dynamite. They've already said you're going to hear from him.
Okay, so
and they need to drop the Jungle Boy, I think, and just Jack Perry, because they have built to getting rid of Jungle Boy, and this is the time to completely done.
Yeah, and it's been a very slow build, so I think
it was done right. It started with the announcers.
I mean, literally, this storyline started, I think, in 2019 of him eventually stop being such a good guy and turning heel in some way. So that was, for him to get to the next level, he was going to have to make a change like that in a pretty major way. So,
he's not like to me, he's not like a Darby Allin. That Darby can stay his character probably forever, how he is, because it's just balls to the wall and face, and what you see is what you get. Jungle Boy's not like that. He cannot thrive on not changing his character.
Yeah, no, and I mean, he's never been a heel before, so turning heel for the first time, it's sink or swim.
Maybe it will finally let him cut loose on the mic, because he's probably frustrated by a bunch of stuff. Maybe this will be the best thing to ever happen. Get it out there, but then if they turn him face down the road, he's much more comfortable on the microphone than as a face than he has been now.
Yeah.
Because wrestlers say it's easier to be a heel because you're not limited by what you can say.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, I've always heard the same thing. And I mean, Jungle Boy was a really great babyface. But it was getting played out, and he needed to, all good characters have to have a change before they can level up. So, again, I was disappointed by the match, but the post-match was good enough that it made me forget about it almost immediately.
Yep.
It just was very disappointing for an IWGP heavyweight title match, but I also understand this match really was pretty far down the card, so it didn't have to be good. And after that, we had the 10-man, which I thought was awesome.
You're not going to get an argument out of me.
I didn't assume that I was. It wasn't my favorite match on the show, but it was all the elements of a Young Bucks match with all the real storyline built in, and
finally
Kingston perfect.
They finally did what I've been telling you. I know Wild Thing was not cheap, but get rid of it. Finally got different music for Mox and the BCC.
What music did they come out to?
It had no words. It was just
interesting.
There was no Wild Thing.
It was something new?
Yes. It wasn't even
I'm going to have to go back and watch that. I totally missed that.
it wasn't even his old music. It was
that's what I was going to say. I would have assumed it would have been his old. Though that's definitely more for a baby face. But I mean,
nope, completely different.
Wow, I'm gonna have to go find that.
I noticed it right away, and I loved it because again, no more sing along with a heel.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, it's a recurring theme at this point.
So that instantly, I was like, okay, we're going to get full on heel. And then Mox and Kingston, when Mox hit first, I was like, this shit for real is heel because Mox is going first. Mitch plays great to his character. If you're either with us or against us. Just everything about it is heel. The music was the only thing not going with the package. And so now it's just, to me, full bore heel group. No questions. Again, since the show and since we're talking, there's obviously been discourse online. Another thing I saw online, and I heard it on Busted Open, that I 100% agreed with. Listen to that crowd. I know they have money and some other guys who they want to push. Eddie Kingston. He is not the prettiest. He is not the flashiest. He is not any of that. But what he is organically over with the crowd. Run with it. Who cares? He's not what you would think of a face of your company or a high person, because so many different things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who cares? You don't get this opportunity all the time.
I definitely think he's going to end up having a very high-profile feud with Mox over the next year or something. Because remember, they did it before, but it was when there were no crowds there. So it was so good, but it was almost like a waste because you weren't going to have any crowd reaction. I mean, so in the match, you said that Mox hit first. Also, Kingston saved Mox from the double super kick and took the bullet for him, basically, only for a few minutes later for Mox to hit him with a cutter. So, I mean, that was just an extra sticking it to him when Kingston still, is trying to help his friend, even in the match against him.
And we've talked enough in the past. I love the Young Bucks. I love their style matches. I love the chaos. Yeah. That's why you're not going to hear. I'm not going to say anything bad about it. Like, it's hard for me to, other than the refereeing, because the Young Bucks matches make the referee look stupid. But
I know we mentioned that last week.
Take that away, but I love their matches. To me, it's entertaining. I like that style, personally. I know I have a bias towards it because I like it.
When they do it perfectly, I mean, let's face it.
I love the Bucks. Hangman looked great. Everything about that match, I enjoyed it. I could watch that over and over.
I found it interesting out of all the people in there, and it was Ishii who actually got the pinfall. I'm not complaining by any means. If that means he's doing more shows, that's great. But
tonight you have Ishii versus Mox.
Oh, I did not. Or maybe I did know that, but yeah, that will be incredible.
Yep. So you have that match tonight. So they're using that and building. I think.
Did you see the match that they had in the G1 back in 2019 by chance?
They have a good history. I mean, I'm looking forward to watching that match.
Yeah, it's probably happening as we speak.
Ishii has a style that he can take punishment. Mox delivers a lot of punishment in his matches. So it's a perfect combination to me.
No, I mean, I've said before, I'm still a huge New Japan fan, and Ishii is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, especially over the last 10 years. So I want to see him wrestle anybody, but the match he had with Mox before was outrageously good. So I'm sure that's probably what's going to happen again tonight.
Yeah, I was, again, huge fan. Loved the match. I could talk for a long time about any Bucks match. In the interest of time, I'm not going to. But Yeah, I think ultimately everything's going to lead to a Bushi at some point.
I mean, have they made it official that they're doing the blood and guts match?
No, which that's now going to be interesting because of what happened in the main event.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, you're right. So we'll get to that in a minute because obviously
that has ramifications on blood and guts.
I did not even think about that but yeah, that's probably pretty major ramifications. But so this show was basically built around two huge matches. Well, I don't even want to say that because they actually built around the other matches really well too. These two were so big in comparison to everything else.
So before we talk about these two, there's one more I do want to talk because when we talk about these two, then we're just going to not stop. Let's be real. 6-man with Sting. So I loved the Joker style coming back out. I love the moment of Sting and Jericho in the ring alone. I love every Sting match. Again, he's my favorite wrestler. He's what got me into wrestling. It's the kind of deal, other than Starrcade issue, Sting can do no wrong to me. So it's hard for me to be unbiased about Sting. I love that at 64, he's still out there doing his thing like this. He's taking bumps. He freaking no-sold a table spot. I mean,
I think he was supposed to get out of the way, and Sammy was supposed to go through the table himself, and Sting didn't get out of the way in time. So,
but it made it look like a no-sell, which feeds into his character anyway.
For Sting, yeah, that works perfectly fine. But obviously, I can't say for certain. But I think he was trying to get out of the way, and he was just a step too slow, and Sammy just caught him. So,
but I thought it worked better him going through no-sell, get back in the ring, and go. Again, it's nothing out of the ordinary, so you wouldn't know that's out of something went wrong because that's part of his character. He'll no-sell something.
Oh yeah, I mean,
anybody else, it's a glaring thing.
Yeah, that's definitely true. But and ironically, anybody else, if they're supposed to get out of the way, they probably will, but they're not 64 years old.
So I just want to hit that match just for a minute because again, I like Sting a lot. Got me into wrestling.
It was a good match. I thought Darby, it was perfect placement between the other two.
Darby is a maniac. Absolute maniac. The way he dives, the way he does that tope. I mean, it hurts watching.
Yeah, for him and the person he's colliding with. Yeah,
that looks like the most real, the most shoot move of the night every night because you see him bounce off of his opponent, and so that hurts. That's
I just don't want to see him crack heads at that speed.
Well, there's a reason when Punk first came to AEW and he was going against Darby, he said, I don't want to take one of those because it looked like it hurts like hell.
And he did anyway, but I do remember that line specifically. He was like, I'm not taking that. Fuck that.
Yeah, and I mean, because it looks like it legitimately hurts.
It probably does.
Which is
nobody's going to get seriously hurt most likely, but it still probably doesn't feel good.
But yeah, like I said, really wanted to just briefly mention that because now we get to the two mains. Omega Ospreay. What can you say other than great?
I mean, I can't imagine the amount of pressure that they put on themselves to try to at least match and certainly try to beat the match they had in January, which in my opinion was one of my favorite matches of all time. And this match they lived up to it.
My one problem.
I do have a couple of small gripes.
The big one for me. Don Callis got ejected. Don Callis came back to the ring. Shouldn't that be a disqualification immediately?
Yeah. Or at least have security immediately grab him and take him out. They allowed him to stay more or less. I did not like that.
And for him to be able to put hands on the ref and not get disqualified because he's already been kicked out. And then while holding the ref, slides the screwdriver. all of the Don Callis part after the ejection, I did not like. Now, Omega and Ospreay, I loved it. I just wish they would have stuck with, if you're ejected and you come back, you're disqualified. And nobody wanted to see that. Nobody wanted to see that end in DQ. So don't eject him.
Yeah, that's how they could have easily avoided that, in my opinion. I don't understand what the point of the first ejection was, other than just to get a quick little pop. But
because he tripped up Omega.
Right.
But that to me was the one why. It just makes no sense whatsoever.
Now, I will say, in regards to the Callis stuff, I think wrestling fans are so trained that when the interference like that happens, like when Callis got the screwdriver to Will Ospreay and all that, like that's either the finish or the finish is coming immediately after. And the fact that they basically went another 10 or so minutes after that, but like the whole time building up the pinfalls and the tension, I thought they played it great. But you're right, they should have never ejected Callis in the first place, because the logic, it didn't make sense. I will say that when he slid that screwdriver to Will and he hit him with it, and then what? He hit Stormbreaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I thought that was the end of the match. Or was that when he then followed it up with the one-winged angel that Kenny kicked out
at one? And basically like a Hulk up version?
Yeah, but I'm saying, was that the same combination? No, yeah, that was two different ones. But it was when he hit the Stormbreaker after the screwdriver that, in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, the match is over. I was literally about to turn away from the screen. And so they got me hook, line, and sinker on that one.
The kick out of one, I loved it because it's...
Yeah, that was...
And it feeds in the logic.
Later.
It feeds the logic that, okay, no one's kicked out of the one-winged angel. If anybody's going to kick out of it...
Kota Ibushi has.
Okay, one
Only
exception.
Person ever.
But it feeds to the logic of, if anybody can kick out of it, it's Kenny, because who knows that move better. So, and it shows that, to me, it also feeds into the, you're going to piss me off if you try to beat me in my own move. I'm getting up. You just really pissed me off.
Yeah.
I thought the kick out of one was great for many reasons, where that dives to the wrestling fan, not just the immediate, but it's the, oh, that's his move. No wonder he's mad.
No, I mean,
those two, I loved the blood because it made sense because of how personal it got. To me, blood made 100% complete sense.
Oh yeah, and in the feud that they're having, certainly, yeah. And I thought it was, last time I think it was just Ospreay that bled. This time it was both of them.
Yep.
I think maybe last time Kenny got kicked in the mouth and bled on accident, but not like they both, I believe, intentionally bled in this match. So
somewhere down the line, we're going to get a third match.
Yeah, so here's my question. Is that going to be in Wembley, where it's on Will Ospreay's home turf as far as country, if not Kenny Omega's company?
I didn't think about that.
Or does New Japan want that match on one of their shows? So I guess if you say
I think
New Japan got the first one, and this match they just did was a split, so AEW would get the match in reality. So I think that's what they're going to do.
I actually see New Japan being like, hey, we loaned you Ospreay for your show, so now the payback is we get Kenny and Will 3 on our show.
I mean, it could very easily be at Wrestle Kingdom in January. I mean,
I like the idea of there being time in between to.
Yeah, I agree. I would prefer more time. That's why the only issue I had with Wembley was the fact that would be pretty soon after, this match just happened a couple of nights ago.
2 months.
Yeah. That's too quick of a turnaround, in my opinion. Because
we had 5 months between the first two.
Yeah. And they're going to go absolutely beyond for the third one. And, maybe it'll be the last one. I don't know. But
I'm looking forward to it. I'm
that
looking
match
forward to it.
Was absolutely incredible. What I didn't like, I hated when Kenny got dropped on his head on purpose. Like, that match was already going to be 5 stars for me, or whatever, however you want to, rate your matches or whatever. But that almost actually took away from it for me, because immediately I just was like, why would you even consider doing that? I mean, Kenny Omega can probably take that better than anybody in the entire world and be as safe as possible, but still he landed directly on his head.
The fact that it went off without an injury is, like, to me, shows like how personal the story is, but that's a huge risk.
Especially when you think about it like this. Kenny Omega his contract is coming up soon, and wherever he signs, he's going to sign for millions of dollars. Not $1 million, millions of dollars. Hopefully it's with AEW, but it's going to be a shit ton of money and just so unnecessary. I know what they were going for. I totally get it.
You know what that tells me? He cares more about the wrestling than he does the money. Like, so he knows his contract stuff. He knows he's going to get the money, but I want to entertain the fan. I want to give the fans everything.
I mean, I've always gotten that sense from him for sure. And I think he also wants to be creatively fulfilled more so than being paid top dollar.
He's already got more money
than a huge contract regardless.
He's already got more money than he could ever need.
Probably, but the money part was secondary to the fact that it was like, dude, that could have gone so wrong and never have another match again. And I thought the match was nearly perfect except for that. But I mean, I guess to be fair, they did the spot perfectly. It just is extremely unsafe. And even if you do it perfectly, you're still going to need luck not to get hurt. But I did hear that apparently Kenny was completely fine.
Glad to hear it. Again, this is another one we could go on for days about. But we got one more match to talk about.
So,
Okada Danielson. Here, I'm going to start with this. Did it live up to the dream match hype for you?
I think in my hype in my mind was so high that it was impossible that they were going to actually be able to reach it no matter what. I think they had an incredible match, and it didn't live up to my expectations only because I don't think my expectations were fair. But then going back in retrospect, knowing that Bryan Danielson broke his arm and apparently broke it pretty badly and still did the last 10 minutes makes it go up another notch for me to where I'm like, okay, yeah, I actually definitely did see something special.
That's how I feel. I saw something special. I feel knowing that he broke his arm with that time left, it was even more so. And again, just like I just said, that shows that somebody cares about wrestling. He could have easily just phoned it in at that point, said, "I'm hurt. We need to end now." The way he applied the submissions with one arm,
I loved it. It was, for a moment, I was like, man, that is incredible selling and attention to detail. But then when his arm really wouldn't come up for a minute, I was like, oh, crap. Actually, I think he hurt himself.
It went from that's incredible selling to that's incredible resolve and pain tolerance.
Yeah. And, I mean, because he did it when he fell on he basically did like an elbow drop of some sort and landed bad on that arm. And then, from there, it was like, because I remember seeing him holding the arm and I was like, did I miss a spot where Okada did something really bad to his arm and that's a part of the match now? And had to go back and see where it happened. And obviously it wasn't a spot that was planned. It was, it was an accident where he broke his damn arm.
I love the match. I did think I tried to just go in with a blank slate of don't think of what it could be, just let me enjoy this for what it is.
Sometimes I have a hard time doing that, but that's good. That usually gives better results than having lofty expectations that might not even be possible.
Like, I knew it'd be great. I expected it to be great, but I just tried to let me just sit back, enjoy this for what it is. The reception that Okada got in Canada, to me, shows he's an international superstar. There is no Japan-only argument with him. It is international.
If anybody was still making that argument, that'd be crazy. Yeah.
I just don't know how much good you can say. Those two are two generational talents. They put on a match completely different than what we saw from Omega and Ospreay, which was a great thing because as a fan, I could not take another one like that in the sense of.
For a minute, I was like, oh, crap. Actually, I think he hurt himself.
It went from that's incredible selling to that's incredible resolve and pain tolerance.
Yeah. And, I mean, because he did it when he fell on he basically did like an elbow drop of some sort and landed bad on that arm. And then, from there, it was like, because I remember seeing him holding the arm and I was like, did I miss a spot where Okada did something really bad to his arm and that's a part of the match now? And had to go back and see where it happened. And obviously it wasn't a spot that was planned. It was, it was an accident where he broke his damn arm.
I love the match. I did think I tried to just go in with a blank slate of don't think of what it could be. Just let me enjoy this for what it is.
Sometimes I have a hard time doing that, but that's good. That usually gives better results than having lofty expectations that might not even be possible.
Like, I knew it'd be great. I expected it to be great, but I just tried to let me just sit back, enjoy this for what it is. The reception that Okada got in Canada, to me, shows he's an international superstar. There is no Japan-only argument with him. It is international. If anybody was
still making that argument, that'd be crazy. Yeah.
I just don't know how much good you can say. Those two are two generational talents. They put on a match completely different than what we saw from Omega and Ospreay, which was a great thing because as a fan, I could not take another one like that in the sense of I can't stay at that high. Danielson and Okada let us go up, rest, go up, boom.
It was more methodical.
We got to go on that ride with them. But yeah, then the 10 minutes and the way the submissions were put on, it's like, holy crap, like how good is this guy? And also, how good is Okada understanding this and still making it look believable? Because as good as Danielson is, you got to have that dance partner. And Okada, at that moment, with that broken arm, to me, was the best dance partner he could have because who else is going to keep going on like that?
He definitely would be one of the top candidates.
The other thing, Danielson did the press conference after the show. And he had his arm in a sling. He had it up. He was still beat up from it. He was smiling. He was in a good mood. And this is where he's going to harbor back, and people are already saying, we'll keep saying. It shows why when Punk at that press conference, why it was so out of line, because here's Danielson hurt. And after the match and all this, and what's he do? He's respecting everything. He's talking about spots.
He's having the time of his life.
He got asked about the Tiger Driver spot.
Yeah, no, I know.
And the way he answered it was as great a company answer as you could ever get of, I talked to the doctors. The doctors talked to me. The doctors, I'd ask them, can I do this? And they will tell me no. Like, I talked to them about spots. So I was like.
But while admitting that he would have not done that when he was trying to get noticed, and that's why he did a lot of shit back then that he would never attempt to do now. But yeah.
But referencing like basically the medical precautions that's in the company for stuff like that. Like, so it was a way to.
I didn't think about it like that, but yeah. I don't think that he was doing that on purpose. I think he was just being honest.
But it also shines a light, like, yeah, there's some dangerous, scary spots, but a lot of us are talking to the doctors of, can I physically do this?
Can my body withstand this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I thought that was a great response to the Tiger Driver question and the thing you brought up earlier. He's obviously loving AEW. He can't hide it. He's getting to wrestle. He would never have a match like this in WWE. It just wouldn't happen. We're getting to see the true American Dragon back in action in the freaking final countdown.
I I can't believe I skipped over that for a moment. That
Amy was asleep, and I woke her up yelling, "Oh my god! Oh my god!" And I started hitting stuff like it's back in Ring of Honor, but the metal signs hitting it in rhythm with the song.
Was she pissed? Did she just say, "Shut the fuck up"?
But I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I
couldn't either.
I did hear TK said it was a one-time only because that cost as much as a wrestler's contract.
But he got it, so at least it can be on replays and stuff. It can be used for that match, I guess, in perpetuity. So, yeah.
It's not like the WrestleMania where when they used For Whom the Bell Tolls, and on the replays, it had to be a house rendition.
Yeah. No, I think for what he got was like $250,000 or something. I literally think that's how much Europe charged for something like that. But you know what? Money well spent, if that's what it was.
And in hindsight, Danielson's out for a period now. So the match before he has to take a break, you know he was soaking that up. Has he ever had 14,000, 15,000 people there for that song?
No, definitely not.
And the fact that they sang along with it.
Maybe 2,000 people with that song at the most.
He's supposed to be a heel. He couldn't hide his happiness in the ring. Yeah. And
afterwards he cut a totally babyface promo for the crowd, but
then
you're talking about during the match, yeah.
Remember when he joined the company, he said, "I will never do the yes chant because that's WWE intellectual property." What's he do? He does it basically the way it was in the cage match with Bray Wyatt, where he's controlling how and when they say it by the speed that he's going. He starts it slow, gets them faster. I got a kick out of that because I'm sitting the whole time thinking, he said he'd never do that.
But he also was only doing it with one arm, which was because the other one was broken. But I think I heard, maybe I made this up, but I thought I heard somebody ask him about it, and he said that he knew his arm was fucked up, and he was basically reworking in his mind some stuff that they were going to do to get the crowd back up again. They had dipped a little bit, and he just kind of went to that almost unintentionally, and it worked. And probably won't see him do that again for a while, because I bet now he's like, "Oh, I said I wouldn't do that. I wish I hadn't done it."
But
it was perfect in the moment.
But when he said that, he was playing the face. Now he's supposed to be a heel, so who gives a shit?
True, that's a good point. He was lying.
So again, I enjoyed it. There's little nuances like that. I hope Okada keeps wrestling for a long time. Like, he's awesome to watch. Danielson, I'm enjoying every bit that I get because it's all a gift, because we thought we'd never see it again. So the fact that
extra.
So the fact that we're getting this and we're getting this level, like, yes, he's had a couple injuries. Okay, you know what? At least these aren't career-ending ones. Like, he can still go out on his terms when he wants right now. At the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean, now he basically only works like big matches, so he's not having a bunch of little inconsequential matches where he could randomly get a concussion. He's mostly having matches that are important, matches that he wants to have specifically before he retires. I mean, I know he said he wants Ishii next. So imagine that.
Oh, Lord. I still want to see him and Ibushi.
And I still want to see him and Zack Sabre Jr., which I have no doubt we'll see. But yeah, definitely want to see Ibushi. I mean, hell, I want to see Ibushi come in and work with everybody in AEW, which I think that's just a matter of time. Different story, obviously, but
yeah. We referenced it earlier. The broken arm's going to have effects on Blood and Guts. If that's longer than what they were thinking, it's going to have an effect on All In. Thank God they sold all the tickets without a match announced type of deal. I
wouldn't rule out him wrestling at All In with a cast.
Yeah, I hope not, because they'd let it heal. You're on borrowed time already.
I'm just telling you, it wouldn't shock me if he had something that like started here and went up. And
I personally, I don't want to see it.
See, If he had gotten a concussion or hurt his neck or anything along those lines, then I would want him to be out as long as he possibly could. But when it comes to like an arm or something, I'm a little more lenient. If he's willing to take the, manage the pain of that happening, if it's a big match in front of 50,000 people, I say go for it.
I'd rather see him take 2 more weeks, so that way he's not out for 6 more months.
No, I mean, that's probably the smart way to look at it. But I had heard, and this was total speculation, but I had heard a rumor that they were actually considering doing Danielson and Nigel at All In. I don't know if Nigel can be cleared to be wrestling, but obviously,
they went back and forth on Twitter.
Oh, really? What? I didn't hear that.
There's some comments.
Oh, you mean Nigel and Danielson did?
Yep.
Right. And, for all we know, Nigel, he's been doing commentary. He might be like in the best shape of his life, ready to go. I mean, the dude's not old. But again, I mean, can he be cleared? He had much worse concussion stuff than Danielson did.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting. Tonight, Dynamite, I think it's going to be, I'm excited to get to watching it because it's the fallout. And you're going to hear from Perry.
And the All-In build will start for the most part. Hey, wait, hold up. You're breaking up. What
about now?
Yeah, now I can hear you. What were you saying again?
You got the build. You got the Hung Bucks. Ishii and Mox. I'm looking forward to it. As soon as we get off, I'm turning it on.
Oh no, me too. I'm definitely looking forward to it. And so, just to wrap up the Forbidden Door talk, I thought it was an incredible show, and I'd
much
say
better than last year.
I'd say, yeah, it's probably it's already easily one of the top 10 shows I've probably ever seen, and probably my favorite show of the year so far. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of the stuff. I actually thought Omega and Ospreay was a little better than Danielson and Okada, but they were two so different matches that it's almost not even really fair to compare them.
If you take away the Callis stuff, then I would say yes, but I couldn't get past that. They rule it better.
That's fair.
I think it was better than last year's show. I will say this, to me, it shows New Japan really needs to start harping their younger guys, because think of all the big names. They're not spring chickens. Okada's in his 30s, yeah, but a lot of these other guys are not young.
So actually, over the last 6 months since Wrestle Kingdom, pretty much New Japan has brought back all of their young guys that were on excursion who are really talented, and they're pushing them hard immediately. So yeah, you actually nailed it. They have just started that, and they need to, because these guys are being pushed. I know you don't keep up with New Japan super regularly, but that is actually what they're in the process of doing, and it's making the shows way better. And I've been loving some New Japan since the beginning of the year.
No, that's why I hadn't kept up as much, because it's like they just can't move as good. Like, it's not the same. You did your job of building the company. You've got to pass the torch.
Tanahashi isn't like main eventing big shows now or anything like that. He's been moved down the card, but I mean, he's still going to do the G1, where he's going to have to do a bunch of singles matches where he's probably going to look like his legs are going to fall apart.
But that, to me, that's a takeaway. Like, if they do Forbidden Door next year, it needs to be a different crop of Japanese guys.
Yeah, I think it would be safe to say that Tanahashi probably wouldn't be getting a big singles match next year, and instead maybe it'd be like a Shota Umino, or Yota Tsuji came back and main evented Dominion in the world title match in his return. So you can't really win, but it was a really good match, and he was immediately pushed as a top guy. So yeah, no, they're definitely pushing the young guys now. So
Good. Glad to hear it.
But I would say for Forbidden Door, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 rating.
Yeah,
I don't even know what a 10 out of 10 would be, because I don't know if I've ever seen a perfect show, but that's what I'm going to call it. Like maybe WrestleMania 17 is a 10 out of 10 for me, and that's about it.
Watching on TV, yes. The shows when I've been there live, like
that's different. That's different.
It's a whole different, because it's a whole different feel.
Yeah, that's different.
But no, I agree. It's a couple glaring things that make it where it can't be perfect, but it's I enjoyed it. I had looked forward to that for a long time.
I did too, especially in like the last week leading up to it. We are quite spoiled currently as wrestling fans.
Yes, we are.
And I hope that continues for a while.
So that was a lot of catch up to do.
Yeah. We're going to try to stay on a more weekly schedule. Dynamite is taking place right now on June 28th as we're recording. So we are going to record a show on that sometime over the next few days. I'd like to get that review up by the weekend, so we're back on track. But yeah, that was our catch up and Forbidden Door review. Obviously, we'll be back in a few days. We'll be talking about Mox versus Ishii and fallout from Forbidden Door. And I mean, God only knows what else is going to happen, or if, maybe CM Punk's going to do a run-in on an Omega interview and punch him right in the balls or something. Who knows?
A man can dream, right?
Yeah. Oh. Maybe not yet, but maybe 6 months from now.
Well, I enjoyed it. We finally got to talk wrestling because we don't talk it no more.
Yeah, I know.
But I enjoyed it. But now I'm ready to watch some wrestling.